Welcome to War Blog. Today we're going to look at the road to Gannivka. You can sort of tell that the war is coming to an end because the BBC have sort of started to report that that it could be over. There we go. Ukraine could face defeat in 24. He said basically. He said they're in serious war, serious risk of losing the war this year. Once it feels that it can't win, at that point they just want to give up. Basically, critically low on ammunition, troops, air defences. They never had any; it was all gifted to them by America. So what would it look like? Strategic objectives. Essentially, they're saying that Russia is going to do a sort of spring-summer offensive. We're seeing Russia batter away at the front line, employing 5-to-1 advantage in artillery, ammunition, and surplus people. Newish weapons. Talking about the 15, they've got 300 kilogram, fab bombs. So they're going to start to do more than smash forward with small gains. They're going to sort of try to break through. So it's talking about either going to Kharkiv, the Donbass area, and I think Zaporizhia. So it's Kharkiv, Donbass, Zaporizhia. So they're going to lay a mine in Zaporizhia. Oops, shouldn't snivel on screen. I don't know where this come from. I'm perfectly fine. I don't know what it is. I just had an enormous lettuce sandwich. I've been suffering from, not so much suffering, but I'm just really conscious that I'm not eating enough vegetables, so I bought a lettuce. I'm basically eating the whole thing in a sandwich. And I think that suddenly all that vitamin C is suddenly trying to eject loads of germs through my nose, which is what vitamin C does, really. But anyway, let's just play this. Now, what I've done, I've tweaked the rules. So in the first instance, this is an interesting map because we've got this big rivery type thing with one bridge there. So you've either got to come from this side or from this side. But there's a break here. There's one bridge there. And then there's nothing there. It doesn't go, so you can just come all the way along here. So there's only, this is the weak point here, look. You need bridging to get across there. But it's interesting, but it's also interesting because there's lots of these towns and things all the way up to Gannivka. So let's just, 1 minute. So what I'm going to do first of all, I'm just going to test the bombers. Because if you recall the other video, they weren't doing so well. I have tested it, but only twice. So let's see what happens this time. Well, it's more than we were doing before. It's more, but it's nothing to write home about. We'll see how it works in the long term, because basically what I've done is I've reduced the I've reduced the bonus that the irregulars get in built up against bombers. But I haven't put it to a negative. It's just I've reduced the defensive bonus that they get. So so we'll see how that pans out. So we're bombing them. Hitting them with artillery. And we're going to send in the drones. Six, 4, 3. Okay, so we've got rid of 1. 6, 5. I didn't actually put any Ukrainians over here. Should probably have done that. So the Ukrainians, well, we can see this sort of group here advancing, so let's use some artillery on them. I'm going to actually rebuild it, I think. Put some Ukrainians up here. In fact, I'm going to do that now. Essentially going to start the game again. Just because I think it will make a little bit of difference. But it will also allow us to play that first sort of turn. So I've stuck them there. Now I've actually duplicated that a bit, so there's now 4 in there. Okay, let's see what these bombers do now. No. In fact, I'm going to play it again. But 1 minute. Okay, so I've made a small change to the actual mechanics of the game. So it's all the same as it was, but let's just see what these do now. Not much better, but yeah. Okay. But now we've got this lot here to worry about as well. But I still think I'm going to try and take that out, or at least to weaken it. Okay. 3, 6, 4. So pretty much the same move, but here we've got a different gameplay really. The minefield sort of slows things down. And that's that. So we don't have to move things over there, but we've got to worry about this. Now we could lay mines there next turn. They'll recover. We'll just sit these here. See where we can get. Move him and put some mines in here or something. But this is going to be... what I was going to do, because this BBC article that I've sort of looked at says that basically the Russians will try to exploit, and they're amassing thousands of troops. And I think that you know, if you look at this, what I was going to do is going to put like 30 motorized units, because you could just drive them across here. Okay. Right, so what do I want to blow up? So we've got these units encroaching here. In the open. Ouch. The Ukrainians did not need that. That was very unfortunate, especially at the early stages. There's a real setback. Okay. So the Russians getting more units on, as are the Ukrainians. Oh, 3.9, 6.3, so they're pretty battered in there. But let's see what the bombers can do. I'm disappointed with these bombers. I just don't understand why they're not. They've got a big factor of 20. There must be something I'm missing. Let me have another look. I don't know, I made a little tweak, but I'm not really in thinking mode at the moment. But I've done something. Whose turn is it? Right, Russians. I think we still want to take that out. So let's blow it up. Okay, leaving that at 3.9. The only reason I'm committing more artillery is because I'm not really so fussed, but these are pretty wounded and I don't want to sort of run the risk. I'd rather clean them out. Like that. And take it out with these units. So as I sort of predicted, we really need more reinforcements over here, but now we're going to have to sort of, well, one little drone unit here, I guess. Preparing for the assault there. So they've lost a drone, that's a real problem. So they're going to hold up there. The engineers here are going to lay mines. Could sort of lay mines there, I guess. It's difficult really to sort of know what to do. But I guess what we could do is continue the assault on them. Okay, well that was good. I was also reading just the other day, and it was much broader knowledge, broader news. It wasn't just South Front. It might actually even be in the BBC thing. The thing is, there simply was never any chance that they were going to win. You know, I think that anyone that supported that has blood on their hands. You know, all those Ukrainian dead people and all that terrain loss didn't have to happen. And even saying that's probably controversial, but they're talking about this. It's a high-powered laser weapon that could be sent to Ukraine to take down Russian drones. It's actually being developed at Porton Down. But it said, so basically, blah, 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 it was expected to be rolled out by, the Dragonfire weapon is expected to be rolled out by 2027. It was originally expected to be operational by 2032, but they're bringing it forward to 2027 because the Ukrainians are still going to be there in 3 years' time on the hope that they can get a Star Wars type weapon. Yeah, so it keeps saying 2027. So they're announcing this as news. The Ukrainians won't be there. Yeah. Despite this, the Defence Secretary told reporters whilst on a visit to Porton Down Military Research Centre near Salisbury that he wanted to speed this up even further. So new reforms intended to speed up the government procurement of weapons mean it will now be ready 5 years earlier, which is 2027. And this was sort of news. Well, it's not news because it has to be now. There won't be a Ukraine at the rate, even admitting it. You know, the Russian summer offensive. What's that going to look like? Well, that's that turn. So right. Well, let's see what all these bombers can do with these units. Okay, let me try something else. Okay, I've made some more changes, but they won't come into play until we use the bombers next. So let's just see what this does. What am I doing? Okay. 5, 6, 2. Let's try a ground attack. Get a 10% bonus on the surround. DE. So we push them out. There isn't really anything even there to be pushed out of. Could really do with a bridge across there. It's probably not critical now, but will give us the advantage of being able to use a bridge if we want one. So I don't want to move him. These engineers here. Do we want to actually clear this road? It could take a long time, but might be worthwhile. See what they make of that. It's interesting that this frontage is like that. Do we want to retreat? Otherwise they're just going to get blown up. 8, 9. Okay. Whew. And what can we blow up? Can we? Is it worth trying to blow these people up, or the spearhead here? I don't really. We only got five things. I think we're going to blow up these units in here. Okay, so that was good. Which means we can now concentrate on this unit, maybe, or maybe these engineers. No effect. I was just going to say that, you know, when you artillery on engineers, they tend to sort of get, they're quite sensitive, but obviously on that one they just missed. 2.4. Yeah. So it's all the way up to 5, 4.9. Okay, so now we've got our bombers back. Let's see what they do now. Oh, look. I'm not going to target those. I'm going to target these units here. Let's see what happens. 0.9. 0.55. So it's like it's. Hang on. Hang on. It's like you've got 60 versus 3, 7 to 1. I'm going to have another pause. I think I might have figured out what's been going on. It's probably just making a mess of everything now. Okay. Whose turn is it? Russian turn. Armoured units. Okay. Oh, we've got all this stuff here. What do we want to do? Okay, so he's doing morale checks. Routed. There's mines in there now. 5, 8. So we can get rid of him. Okay. So the Ukrainians have got some reinforcements. Well, he's not going to stop much, is he? Oh. Well, they're not really going to do much, but they can at least try. Okay, I don't think we're going to do much against that. But there's two lots of engineers in there. Let's see where the artillery 2.8. So I've got rid of one. Should be able to get rid of this last one, but it's expensive. What's he on? 7.7. Okay. See, they don't have enough. Now, let's see what these... Let's see what they do now. Because I think I've got some idea of why it's limited. One. See, what it's doing, it's just saying, oh, it's 7-1. And it's bearing nothing in mind. So it's saying a 7-1 odd it will produce sort of between whatever, two variables. So it could be an infantry attack, or well, it's not because it's air combat, but it could be drones. So the fact that it's got 20 factor puts it up to the 7-1 odds, but the 7-1 odds damage table isn't really indicating, you know, significant damage. Because really, you know, if you're bombing someone, it's not an odds factor. It's, I don't know, it's all just however you want to make it work. But I think, you know, that's what's happening, really. So I said if it's bomber, double, well, not double, but there's a random factor between whatever and something else, and basically it increases it by, you know, maybe 1 or 0, so it's 1 times, or up to sort of like 3 or 4 times the damage that is done. So he says I don't want them sort of racking up sort of like 20 damage or something, so bit by bit I suppose we can get there. But well, he should route. But we probably don't even need to worry because these guys are fresh. Oh, but he won't be completely... Oh, he's 8.3. Let's see what we can do here. Bit of 3-1. Bit of door-to-door fighting. Okay. Ah, it's been hit before. Okay. So we should be able to take the city out soon. thought it would go there. I thought I'll move him there to stop him, but I thought, no, I can't be bothered. Now I wish I had, because obviously he's going to start running away. Oh, we pushed him back there. That's nice. Okay, well, that's the ideal position for him. So this is what a Russian breakthrough would look like, with fast-moving units speeding across the plains. Push them back. Let's try blowing them up now with some drones. I think I've got the balance better. And again, it's not really a fair game, but obviously this is the sort of situation where you don't feel that the Ukrainians have much. You know, if they'd had twice as much as they had, they might still be defending in this To Gannivka, wherever it is. You know, you could actually maybe almost play that as an exercise by giving them twice as much and see, you know, I mean, basically it's just a game of numbers. But, what I was thinking actually was this sort of the ensuing Russian advance, the spring offensive. It'd be interesting to see what the actual sort of limiting factor on that will be beyond the you know, the battle results, from the point of view that, you know, how much will they be able to logistically move forward without making a mistake or having some sort of unexpected situation arise. Because the thing is that they might be impetuous and try to move too far. I mean, in you know, bearing in mind the situation in when they first carried out the invasion, where they just lost columns and columns of vehicles because there was just such density. It'd be interesting to know what the Ukrainians are actually being given, because no doubt they're being given tons and tons of stuff. You know, you might would have thought that they would be concentrating heavily on mine technology, just mining everything, you know, remote mining, and drones, and in particular, I think one of the big things that will change things, if it can be done, and I imagine it will be doable at some point, is anti-drone technology. You know, the ability to just prevent drones. And I think that's why the Russians are sort of, you know, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket with these glide bombs. I mean, there's not much they can get rid of these glide bombs, because they're actually sort of programmed, I think, at launch point. So the launch point is actually automated, so that, you know, the bomber is flying at a certain rate, and it optimizes the launch point for, you know, plus or minus 2 meter accuracy. The glide means it's got a longer range, so you can't block that. But, you know, all this other stuff, the drones, the anti-tank drones, I mean, they will, you know, if they can block those, then all of a sudden it could change again in the Russians' favour. The thing is, I mean, all this stuff about Grant Shapps talking about the Dragonfire laser system. to not necessarily to hit Grant Shapps because he's probably an idiot, but the people behind all of this R&D, Quintech and Raytheon and whatever BAE Systems, I don't think there's any question that they're just seeing this as like a big opportunity to develop weapon systems and see how they work in the field. And it seems quite ironic, really, because there's no one else to sort of hypothetically test it on. This is the hypothetical test. I guess the only other thing would be to sort of, to see how they can do that against China. But, whatever the Ukraine spring offensive was, it was completely... It's completely not what I would have done, and a complete failure. I mean, to use all that equipment, they must have had someone in there trying to give them... the idea that would be successful. And it's interesting to see that the Russians are able to do what they're doing at the moment. And I think it's just down to manpower, but it's not necessarily just that. They had the manpower, and why are their defensive lines not as good as they were going? I mean, they were going up against sort of massive trench lines and minefields. Why have the Ukrainians not got that? I mean, presumably they're building purpose-built fortifications right now everywhere. Where are all their minefields? Are they doing that now? You don't need high technology to sort of put concrete bunkers in places. So it's interesting. Anyway, what's going on here? I think it's the Ukrainian turn. Okay, so I lost a drone earlier on, which is a pain. Okay, so we've got one mechanised unit against 3 armoured companies. Oh, can we do anything? Probably not. Well, they're on the other side of the river. Yeah, probably better off putting whatever we can into urban areas. But it'd be interesting to sort of consider whether or not we should be withdrawing. I mean, to be quite honest, we should possibly actually be considering that. Is available, but to do what? So we've given up on all of this because we're threatened by these armoured units, and I don't think there's anything that can be done about that. They split up as well. 0.2 damage. Because of course it's armoured. I have actually sort of given the armoured units a lot more defence, but that was sort of earlier on, I think, when I was doing a lot more of the Syrian stuff, and it seems to me that you can take out a tank with an RPG. You can take out a tank with dropping a mortar round from a drone, because one of the big differences is armored vehicles are designed to fight armored vehicles, and also to sort of suppress small arms fire and things like that. But they're not very good at things that come from directly on top of them. And there was some comical video about with a Russian tank that was sort of like had like a garden shed attached to the top of it, so you couldn't see it. But it all makes a bit of sense, really. You can't see what it is, so you can have 20 moving sort of these outdoor garage type things. You don't know what's underneath any one, so you can't necessarily target it. But the thing is, hitting them from the top is quite weak, and at the back they've actually got ventilation systems, which means that in any sort of pressure wave, an explosive force is just going to go straight through those into the sort of the engine area. It seems that they're actually quite vulnerable now, because there's nothing using conventional means. No one's really targeting things. When they come in and fire a tank, quite often down a road, they'll come in and sit here and they'll fire all the way down a road at some sort of target. It's usually just to get rid of infantry units. They're not. I don't think we're seeing many tank-on-tank engagements where a tank has to sort of like suddenly target another tank quickly and fire and penetrate through side armor. That's not happening. Another thing that I was thinking about, actually, I read today that Germany are sending a Patriot missile system to Ukraine. That's one. You don't have to look very far to sort of see all these videos of Russians taking out Patriot air missile systems. And I was thinking, the problem with those is that they seem to be very expensive. I can't remember the price, multi-millions, 20, 30, 40 million, 100 million each. The thing is, what I thought, they should just use standard truck chassis for everything. So whether it's catering supplies or Patriot missile systems or multiple rocket launcher systems, and they literally you just have the magazine just attaches, so they have a mechanical fitting. So it's just a standard truck that costs like however much a standard truck costs. And then all the control system is either on a laptop or, at the very worst, say a suitcase type control system that you plug in that has a cable that runs 100 meters. So you don't have to sit next to this thing once it gets blown up by a drone system. So you just plug it in. So you've got a very cheap platform, like a Porty system. You got a portable control system, and then the ammunition, which is just a big 6-pack of rockets, will obviously be transported on the back of another truck, and you just attach it to the truck. So the thing is, it just seems to me that the Patriot system is just so expensive, and obviously, and multiple rocket launcher systems that they've got, all this stuff, the carriers and things, and even the artillery, you just don't need. There should be some way of making them a lot cheaper, because they're only going to last. I think they sent some, I don't know what the name of these American tanks are, the Abrams. They sent Abrams in there, and they seem to last 1 day each. Well, if your tank is only going to last 1 day, make it out of cardboard. Something that's going to make it really cheap, so that you can make enough to lose one every day, because there's no point in these tanks are not invincible. Nothing, it seems to me that, just as we've got, here, once you lose the ability to take the tanks out because you don't have the drones or anything, it becomes a bit different. But what I was, just to sort of get back to what I was literally thinking here, was that I think I might reduce the defensive capabilities of tanks, because they really don't seem to be. Or maybe give the Ukrainians some anti-tank systems. I seem to recall that they were quite effective against tanks. He's at 3.2. No, still way too much. Okay, so we're in the Russians now. Let's see what we can do. I've not even got anything left to fire. I don't want to shoot these because it's a bit cheating. They're refresh reinforcements. So let's go against these. See what we get. 1. 1.5, 1.3. So we're getting higher, but it's still not. I wanted the bombers to sort of be inflicting like 3s and 4s, or maybe 5s, or even 6s. Maybe I can sort of figure out how to get it to sort of do that. But the problem that you got there is that you know, if I start firing at things that are not in. Well, the thing is, in theory, none of these units are getting defensive bonuses for being dug in or for being in, you know, any defensive terrain. So that's still something that needs to be figured out. Now, let me just have a look at the. See, it was all 7 to 1. 7 to 1. We were fighting at 60 versus 2. You know, that should have been an obliteration. That's 30 to 1. That's an interesting point. Okay. But I don't want to do any more thinking because I'm almost falling asleep here. So really it's just a case of trying to open up the roads. So we should be able to get rid of that one next turn. We've now moved into there and taken it. So we capture that place sooner rather than later. I'm going to make this the last turn as well, because I'm not really thinking. I'm just tired. I am glad to get another video out there, and I just sort of think, oh no, they're not going to end the war. Just as I maybe get a bit of momentum up there. But the thing is, I think what we're actually seeing here is the first time we've actually had any sort of proper movement. You know, because they spent the whole of last year going absolutely nowhere. You know, there was really nothing happening. And, you know, as opposed, you know, there was only one little bit of ground. And I personally think that there was something very suspicious about that spring offensive. I don't think they wanted to do it. I think there's some sort of like subconscious concord or agreement between the Russians and the Ukrainians just to sort of keep it to the front line. But I mean, they're saying that and with regards to an attack on wherever it is, I'm looking at the wrong one now. Is it Kharkiv? That would be really, really. I'm not sure that they would be able to do that. But it'd be interesting to see whether they can. It'd be interesting because this thing is, I think the Ukrainians have somehow put up a good defence. It'd be interesting to sort of, calculate the significance of that defence based against a scenario where the defence completely fails. Where you get Russian forces like 100 miles behind the lines, 2 hours after a small, attack. Those big breakthroughs, and that would be quite interesting to model, really, to sort of see what they can do and where. And they've probably got, you need a big map, well, a larger map than this, and you can sort of say, well, like we did here, sort of just exploiting through here. As I said, I was going to put a big sort of 30 motorized units just to sort of represent what you could do if you got mobility, because all these irregulars and infantry soldiers, they don't have the, they can't get anywhere, they can't walk anywhere, but these tanks and things, and they can get a long way in just a couple of hours. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. It's only got a minute or 2 minutes to go. I don't want to do any more movement. Oh, let's see what we got. It's the Russians, isn't it? Let's just knock these guys out of the way. Yeah. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I think we're going to start to see some sort of pretty interesting moves forward, and possibly even the capitulation of Ukraine fairly soon. So we'll see what happens. I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.